The disaster in the Genoa Bridge, the 2018 collapse. Welcome back to Horror Funk Town, where we explore the dark corners of history and uncover the chilling tales that still haunt us today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our deep dives into the most terrifying events. Today, we're delving into the tragic collapse of the Genoa Bridge in 2018. A disaster that shocked Italy and the world. On August 14th, 2018, the Morandi Bridge, a crucial part of Genoa's infrastructure, collapsed, leading to the deaths of 43 people. The tragedy struck on the eve of Ferragosto, a public holiday in Italy, when most of the country shuts down to enjoy a day of rest and celebration. However, this day was marred by one of the worst structural failures in modern Italian history. The day was dark and stormy, with a torrential rainstorm hammering Genoa, a port city on the Ligurian coast. The Morandi Bridge, named after its designer Riccardo Morandi, was a key part of the A10 motorway, a major route that links Italy with southern France and the northern Italian cities of Milan and Turin. The bridge was bustling with traffic despite the severe weather, with thousands of vehicles crossing it as people headed towards their holiday destinations. At 11:36 a.m., just as the rain was intensifying, a section of the bridge's deck, including one of its main pylons, suddenly gave way. The collapse was catastrophic, with a 650-foot section of the bridge plummeting into the Polcevera River valley below. The disaster was so sudden that those on the bridge had no time to react, with cars, trucks, and heavy vehicles plunging from the structure onto the riverbed, railway tracks, and warehouses below. One of the most harrowing stories from that day is that of Luigi Fiorio, a truck driver who was crossing the bridge at the moment of collapse. As the deck fell away in front of him, Fiorio slammed on his brakes, bringing his truck to a halt just feet from the edge. He managed to escape his vehicle and run to safety, narrowly avoiding a plunge that would have almost certainly cost him his life. His truck, perched precariously on the edge of the collapsed bridge, became a symbol of the disaster, a reminder of how close he came to death. The Morandi Bridge was more than just a piece of infrastructure. It was a symbol of Italian engineering and a vital part of Genoa's transport network. Designed by the famous Italian engineer Riccardo Morandi and completed in 1967, the bridge was a marvel of its time. It stretched 3,878 feet across the Polcevera River Valley, supported by 3 towering pylons that stood 300 feet tall. These pylons held up the bridge's deck with pre-stressed concrete cable stays, a design that was innovative and unique at the time. Morandi was a pioneer in the use of pre-stressed concrete, a material that promised both strength and durability. Pre-stressed concrete is created by placing steel tendons under tension within the concrete before it sets. Once the concrete hardens, the tendons are released, putting the entire structure under compression. This method allows for thinner, more slender structures that require fewer supporting elements, making it a cost-effective solution in post-war Italy, where steel was scarce but concrete was abundant. The Morandi Bridge was seen as a triumph of this technique, and for decades it stood as a testament to Italy's engineering prowess. However, beneath its sleek design, the bridge harbored flaws that would eventually lead to disaster. From the very beginning, the Morandi Bridge faced problems. As early as 1979, just 12 years after it was completed, Morandi himself expressed concerns about the bridge's structural integrity. He noted that the concrete was deteriorating at an alarming rate, particularly the cable stays, which were critical to the bridge's stability. Morandi recommended immediate repairs, including the removal of rust from exposed reinforcements and the application of a protective elastomer coating. However, despite these recommendations, the bridge continued to degrade over the following decades. By the 1990s, the bridge's condition had worsened significantly. The concrete cable stays, which were supposed to be the bridge's strongest feature, had corroded to the point where they could no longer bear the loads they were designed for. In some sections, up to 30% of the stays had deteriorated, severely compromising the bridge's stability. Emergency repairs were carried out, including the reinforcement of some stays with their external steel cables. However, these repairs were only applied to 2 of the 3 main pylons. Pylon number 9, the one that would eventually collapse, was left untouched. In the years leading up to the disaster, concerns about the bridge's safety grew. In 2016, a professor of reinforced concrete construction at the University of Genoa publicly called for the bridge to be replaced, labeling it a failure of engineering. The cost of maintaining and repairing the bridge had far exceeded the cost of building a new one, yet the bridge remained in use. That same year, the Italian Senate was informed of the bridge's dire condition, with warnings that it should be closed to heavy traffic. These warnings went unheeded. In April 2018, just months before the collapse, the company responsible for the bridge's maintenance, Autostrade SpA, finally decided to undertake major repairs. A tender was issued for $21.4 million, and work was scheduled to begin in the autumn of that year. Tragically, the bridge gave way before any of these repairs could be carried out. When the bridge collapsed in August 2018, it was not just the cable stays that failed, but the entire structure around pylon number 9. According to a report by the Ministry of Infrastructure, the collapse was caused by the failure of other critical structural elements, including the edge beams and buffer decks, which had corroded over time. The report also criticized Autostrade's management for ignoring the numerous warning signs and failing to take the necessary precautions to prevent the disaster. The aftermath of the collapse was chaotic and tragic. Rescue teams worked tirelessly for days, pulling survivors from the rubble and recovering the bodies of those who had perished. In total, 43 people lost their lives, and dozens more were injured. The disaster shook Italy to its core and raised serious questions about the country's infrastructure and the companies responsible for maintaining it. In the wake of the collapse, the Italian government took swift action. A state of emergency was declared in the Liguria region, and funds were allocated to help the city of Genoa recover. The government also announced that the Morandi Bridge would be demolished and replaced with a new structure. Construction of the replacement bridge, the Genoa St. George Bridge, began in June 2019, and it was completed and inaugurated in August 2020, just 2 years after the disaster. The Genoa Bridge collapse was a tragedy that could have been prevented. It was the result of years of neglect, poor maintenance, and a failure to act on the warnings of experts. The lives lost in the collapse serve as a somber reminder of the importance of maintaining critical infrastructure and the devastating consequences that can result when we fail to do so. If you found this deep dive into the Genoa Bridge collapse as haunting as we did, make sure to subscribe to Horror Funk Town for more stories that delve into the darkest chapters of history. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. We appreciate your support in keeping these stories alive. Remember, if it's spooky, it's Horror Funk Town. Stay tuned for more episodes that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the world around you.